As part of the today's session, like we are going to discuss about the introduction in the sense like we are going to discuss like what is meant by testing and why we are doing the testing. So generally the single statement I can give about the testing is like, so we are going to check the functionality of an application. So like what is meant by functionality? Let's take a WhatsApp as an example. So in a WhatsApp, like we are having n number of features. So basically, each and every application will have multiple features, and the features in the sense, let's take as a chat feature, and we can take it as a status feature, or call feature, or like we can take it as a like payment feature. So like we will be having n number of feature, and inside each and every feature, like we will be having multiple functionality, and we are going to check that functionality. So functionality in the sense like if you have take the chat feature, like you may have observed, like whenever the user is in offline, okay, so it will be like kind of an single tick. So if the user is in online and if you try to send a message, so it will be kind of an a double tick. If they have read the message, like it will be kind of an blue tick. So which is nothing but it specify the functionality of the chat. So whenever the user is an offline, so the expected functional behavior is like in our screen it should appear like kind of a single tick. So if the user is in online and if you have sent a message, so the functional behavior, so what is the expected behavior in the sense, like it should be like appear in the double tick. And if you have read the message, like it should be in blue tick. So basically under each and every feature, like we are going to check the functionality. And who has defined this functionality? So basically like whenever we are going to develop something, so whenever we are going to develop an application, so initially like we will be having some requirement. So only with the help of the requirement, so we can develop something, and post completing the development activity, so we can test something. So testing is nothing but like we are going to just check the functionality of an application. And the person who like do the testing, we call it as an testers, or technically we call it as an QA or QE. So QA means we call it as a quality analyst, or in some place, so like we call it as a quality engineer, and we are going to play the role of the tester. So generally, right, so there will be some certain requirement, and based upon the requirement, so they are going to develop an application, and once completing the application, like we are just going to cross check the functionality, or else like for better understanding, so what I can say, like for example you are having an idea, so that you need to construct a 2 BHK house, and you may have some idea like how the house should be, like how the elevation or how the design should be. So whenever we have some idea, so like we will be explaining our idea to the civil engineer, okay, either the civil engineer or design engineer, and pose that like, so they will observe our need, so they will understand our need, and pose that like they are going to develop a design, and post completing the design, so they are going to review the design with us. So for the civil engineer, so like we are the client, so we are acting as a client, so which means they are understanding the client need, and based upon the client need they are preparing some design, and they are reviewing the design with us. And if we are okay with the design, so then they will start the construction, and post completing the construction, so we may do the final check. So final check in the sense like we are going to verify, so whatever they have specified in the design, so whether they have constructed the same. So like if they in the design, if they look for example in the design, if they have mentioned like the elevation should be like kind of an oval shape. So while doing the final check, so we are going to verify with the design, and we will be checking that like whether the front elevation is like kind of an oval shape or not. So which is nothing but here we are doing the testing activity. And why we are doing the testing activity in the sense, so like in order to ensure so whether they have constructed the house as per design. Okay, so how we follow this process in similar way, like the client will have some idea. The client in the sense like I may have some idea, so like I need to develop some kind of an application, I may have some idea. So technically we call the client as a stakeholders. Okay, so the stakeholders may have some idea, and the client or stakeholders is going to explain their idea to the person called as an BA, so which we call it as a business analyst. Okay, so the business analyst is the person so who understand the need of the client. So how here the civil engineer understand the need of us, in similar way the business analyst will understand the need of the client, and post understanding their need, so they will draft a requirement. So once the requirement is drafted, so they are going to review with the client, and if the client provides the approval, so then they are going to build the application. So in order to build the application, so like we need the help of the developers. Okay, so the developers is the person so who is going to build the application. And once the developer complete the development activity, so like we are going to do the final check, so which is nothing but we are going to do the testing. Okay, so and as part of our testing, we are going to verify whether the developer has developed everything as per requirement. And why we are doing the testing activity, so just in order to ensure so whether everything is working as expected. Because like whenever we are going to deliver something to the customer, so before that like we always do the testing activity. So why we are doing the testing activity, so whenever we do the testing activity, so the client can avoid the loss to the business. So how they are avoiding the loss to the business? Because like we are verifying everything. So we are doing the testing activity, we are verifying the everything. So which is nothing but we are going to do the functional check, and we will ensure that everything is working as expected. So which means before handovering something or before releasing something to the market, so for sure, like we are going to do the testing activity, and this testing activity will be done by the QA or QE, so which we call it as a quality analyst or quality engineer. So one and only if the quality check is passed. So here we are doing the quality check, and why we are doing the quality check in the sense, because like we are providing the assurance like everything is working as expected. And when everything is working as expected, it can avoid loss to the business. So means, for example, so we are the developers are developing some shopping application. Okay, and without testing activity, without doing the testing, so like we have hand over the application or we have launched the application in the market, and the customer is trying to order a product. So let's say like he need to order an iPhone, and in a search bar he's trying to enter the keyword called as an iPhone. So the expectation is like whenever the customer inject the appropriate keyword, so based upon the keyword the appropriate result should be displaying, so which is nothing but the relevant result should be displayed. So one and only if the relevant result is displayed, so they can order the iPhone successfully. Or else like let's say here I am opening the amazon.com. Here I'm injecting the keyword called as an iPhone. So if I type the keyword called as an iPhone, it should display the result related to the iPhone, so that like I can purchase the iPhone. So but whenever I use the keyword called as an iPhone, and if it appears the ceiling fan result, so will the customer able to order the iPhone? Because from the search result they are unable to see the iPhone, which means like it is creating the loss to the business. And how they can avoid this loss to the business in the sense by doing the testing activity. So before handovering the specific application to the customer, like we are going to do the testing activity. And how we are going to do the testing activity in the sense like we are going to compare everything with the requirement document. Okay, so which means even so whenever the WhatsApp is developed, so they may have some requirement document, and in the requirement document they might have specified, the business analyst has specified, like if the user is in offline, like it should be single tick, and the user is in online, it should be double tick. If they have read the message, it should be the blue tick. So everything is specified in the requirement document. Even like so they will be specifying each and everything. So like they will be specifying the responsiveness. So responsiveness in the sense like whenever we send a message to whenever we send a message from person 1 to person 2, so it is delivering instantly. So which means like the responsiveness of application is like it's very high. So which means they will be mentioning the responsiveness speed. So how fast the message should be delivered to the other person. So let's say if I'm sending the hi to the person 2 and it is delivering to the person like 2 hours delay, and the person is reverting back with the hi, and I'm receiving the message like kind of 3 hours delay. Okay, I'm getting the message in the 3 hours delay. So if we have the same behavior, so will everyone use the WhatsApp? So for sure, no one will use, right? Which means they will start to look for the alternative application, which means like so we may have spend some cost for developing the application. As we are not gaining any of the profit, we are losing the customer, we are losing the customer. So then it is going to create the loss to the business. And how they can avoid this loss to the business in the sense by doing the testing activity, which means like so we will try to send a message from person 1 to person 2, and we will be verifying so whether the message is delivering instantly. And if the user is in offline, so we'll be checking so whether it is he's in single tick. If the user is in online, we can check the tick mark whether it's in double tick. If they have read the message, we can verify like whether it is on blue tick, which means basically like we are checking the functionality of an application. Okay, so under each and every feature, like we are going to check the functionality. Let's take an example of the status feature. So while verifying the status feature in the requirement document, the business analyst have added the condition, so stating that like post 24 hours, so the status should be auto deleted. So which means like as it is specified in the requirement document, so the developer has implemented the logic. And as a testers, so like we will be verifying, so we used to set some status and we will be verifying so whether it is getting disabled after 24 hours or not. So like if it is disabled after exactly after the 24 hours, we can say the particular functionality is working as expected. So but if the status remains after 24 hours, so then the functional behavior is not working as expected, which means like we will be informing to the developers in similar way, right? So whenever we are keeping any of the video song as a status, so it will auto compress to 30 seconds. So which means they have specified this condition in the requirement document. So that's the reason the developer has developed as per requirement. And whenever we are going to do the testing activity, like we are going to verify so whether it is working as per requirement or not. Okay, so the key thing is like how we are going to do the testing in the sense we are going to check the functionality of an application by comparing with the requirement document. Okay, and this testing is not only applicable to the software industry, so it is applicable to all phase of the industry. So before handovering any of the product to the customer, so like they used to do the quality check. So even like here we are doing the quality check. And why we are doing the quality check in the sense, so to in order to ensure like everything is working as expected or not, which is nothing but in other language we can say whether it is defect free or not. Even if we take the manufacture sector as an example. So let's say like they have decided to manufacture a soap, and the budget of the soap is like kind of an 30 rupees, which means like in order to achieve the profit, so they will be having some requirement. So the weight of the soap should be 100 gram, like the package, how the package should be look like, and how much glycerin content we need to add. So everything, so they will be mentioning in the requirement, and as per requirement, so they will be manufacturing the soap, and post manufacturing the soap, so they will do the quality check. So while doing the quality check, so they are going to verify so whether it is exactly equal to the 100 gram, and whether the packing is good, and they will be checking the ratio of the glycerin current, etc. So one and only if the quality check is passed, like we will be delivering the product to the customer. So as a tester, like we should always feel proud, because before launching the product to the real-time world, so we are using the application. So which means like we are feeling the application. So before launch of the product, so we are able to use the product. So which means like whenever we use that particular product, so we should ensure so everything is working as expected. So which means before launch of the application, so we are using the application, we are playing around the application, and we should always ensure like whatever the functionality is specified, so it should work as expected. So that is a role of the tester. And why we are doing the testing in the sense, because like in order to avoid the loss to the business. And what is mean by testing in the sense, like we are going to verify the functionality of an application by comparing with the requirement document. Okay, so we always compare everything with the requirement document, and every time like we deliver a like a product to the customer in a feature wise. So let's say like even when the WhatsApp is launched, right, so they have launched the base application. Post that, like they will be adding new feature. So new feature, they come up with the status feature, and they come up with the call feature. Now they come up with the broadcast feature, which means like in each and every update, so the customer will get the entire feature. So we always deliver at the feature level. Okay, so always have in mind, so we always deliver the product at the feature level. Okay, so we if we take the payment feature, so everything under the payment feature should work as expected. If we take the call feature, so everything under the call feature should work as expected. And we are going to compare with the requirement document, and we are going to do the testing. Okay, so this is how like we used to do the testing.